let's dive right into this explainer and tackle the ultimate homeowner mystery. If you've ever looked at a quote for a standard bathroom remodel and literally felt your jaw hit the floor, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You are absolutely not alone. Today, we're stripping away those glossy magazine photos and looking at the real-world numbers. We're going to uncover the hidden costs lurking inside your walls and figure out why doing it right requires a budget that takes almost everyone by surprise. To put things into perspective, according to the 2026 National Kitchen and Bath Association Market Outlook, the national average for a primary bathroom remodel is currently hovering right around an astonishing $25,500. And actually, Remodeling magazine puts it even a bit higher than that. Now, keep in mind, we're not talking about some sprawling luxury spa retreat in a mega mansion. No, this data reflects a standard 5 by 8 foot space. You know, the absolute most common bathroom size in American homes. So the sticker shock is entirely real. And it brings up a really vital question, right? Why on earth does a standard 5 by 8 bathroom cost as much as a brand new car? Like, where is all that money actually going when you aren't building some high-end luxury wet room? Well, the biggest mistake we see homeowners make is focusing purely on the finished materials. They'll literally spend weeks agonizing over tile that costs $8 a square foot versus $12, thinking that's where the budget is won or lost. But honestly, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how construction works. Here's the crucial point. Labor, meaning your skilled tradespeople, the plumbers, the electricians, the tile setters, that eats up roughly 50 to 60% of your total budget. The real cost isn't in your shiny new tiles or that fancy brass faucet. You see, a persistent shortage of skilled tradespeople in 2026 has pushed wages up significantly. You're paying for a professional, highly coordinated job from licensed experts. Literally over half your money walks out the door every evening in the form of human expertise. Okay, let's move into Section 1. The budget is in the walls. To really grasp this cost, we need to mentally strip away the drywall using what I like to call the iceberg model. The true load path for your money is in the hidden systems. Take a look at this. The plumbing rough-in, which means the pipes installed behind the walls before they get closed up, easily outpaces the tile and flooring costs. Why? Because bringing in a licensed plumber to replace 50-year-old galvanized lines with copper is going to cost thousands. Same thing with electrical. Bringing an old room up to 2026 code with proper grounding and new safety circuits, like those GFCI outlets to prevent shocks near water, that takes a massive chunk of the budget. But here's the kicker. The most critical invisible line item of all is the waterproofing system. A multi-layer moisture barrier, think systems like Schluter-Curti or a liquid-applied membrane, is absolutely non-negotiable. Having a certified professional install this correctly is literally the only thing preventing a beautiful wet room from slowly turning your subfloor to mush over the next 10 years. A gorgeous tile job placed over shoddy waterproofing is, well, it's really just a prettier leak waiting to happen. Ultimately, what you're paying for here is structural integrity. Moving right along to Section 2, Hidden Hazards and Scope Creep. Now, even if you have a perfect plan, budgets can absolutely explode once those sledgehammers start swinging. But there's a massive difference between the two main budget breakers. First, we've got unavoidable, unforeseen conditions. This is what happens when a contractor opens a wall and discovers, say, a 20-year slow leak that turned your subfloor into oatmeal, or they find heavily corroded cast iron pipes. Then there's scope creep, and this one is entirely on the homeowner. This is when you decide to change vanity sizes after the plumbing is already roughed in, or you suddenly want heated floors at the very last minute. Scope creep means you're paying for the new materials, plus the labor to undo what was already built, plus the restocking fees. It's a double whammy. Because of those hidden hazards we were just talking about, especially in homes built before 1985, the National Association of Home Builders actually recommends keeping a 10 to 15% contingency budget in reserve. So if your estimated budget is $25,000, you need nearly $4,000 more just sitting in the bank ready to deploy for mandatory safety and code repairs. Honestly, it's not a question of if you'll find problems in an older home, but what kind. And those surprises, they don't just cost money, they cost time. A standard remodel usually follows a pretty tight 4-week sequence: demolition, waterproofing, tile, and finally the finishes. But let's say you discover a cracked cast iron stack inside a wall, or you decide to pause and wait on a custom vanity. That can instantly derail this delicate schedule. And every single extra week added to the timeline means thousands in extended labor costs and project management overhead. Let's look at Section 3, 3 real-world projects. We're going to ground this data in reality by looking at 3 representative 2026 projects from Renology. This really proves how much hidden conditions change everything. Okay, so a simple pull and replace in a 1990s home. That was fast and relatively affordable at $18,500. But remember, it was purely cosmetic. Meanwhile, a standard 1970s gut and remodel hit right around our national average at $26,000, thanks to a minor surprise of some subfloor rot. But check out that historic 1950s project. That one ballooned to $38,000, all because of rotted joists, ungrounded wiring, and bad pipes. It proves once again that what's inside the walls absolutely dictates the final bill.
Which brings us to Section 4, vetting your contractor.
Now that you know the true danger hides behind the drywall, finding a great contractor is literally the most important decision you're going to make. First, you've got to ask them this exact question. Can you walk me through your standard waterproofing process? If they give you a vague answer here, that is a massive red flag. You want to hear them name explicit modern systems. And more importantly, listen closely to see if they discuss flood testing, which means filling the finished shower pan with water to check for leaks before laying a single tile. If they skip this step, they're basically gambling with your house.
Second, you need to ask, how do you handle change orders for unforeseen conditions? Look, surprises are going to happen, so you need to know upfront that they have a fair, documented process for dealing with them. The right answer is that they stop work immediately, document the rot or bad pipes with photos, and provide you with a fixed-price written change order. A true professional will never proceed until you've actually signed off on that document. Absolutely no handshake deals, okay?
Third, demand clear communication by asking about their protocol. A lack of communication is easily the #1 source of conflict during a remodel. Ensure they commit to daily check-ins, even if it's just a quick text at the end of the day, and weekly on-site progress meetings to review the schedule. I mean, you are paying them a lot of money. You deserve to know exactly where the project stands every single Friday morning.
And this brings us to a really fantastic insight from Mike Reynolds over at Renology. He says, a 10-year bathroom is built from the studs out, not the fixtures in. It's so true, right? Homeowners get completely fixated on the finish of a faucet and totally forget to ask about the slope of the shower pan or the seal around the valve body. You've got to remember, everything else is just decoration.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. When you look at the price tag for your own future renovation, are you still going to get distracted by the shiny fixtures on the surface? Or are you finally ready to invest in what's behind the walls? Respecting the iceberg is literally the only way to ensure your $25,000 buys you a bathroom that will actually last for decades. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.